There's a difference between pain that hurts and pain that takes over. Most pain you've felt in your life, you could still think through it, still function, still make decisions. What these animals deliver is different. It doesn't leave room for anything else. Your brain stops processing the situation and starts processing only the pain. And what makes it worse is that most of these didn't come looking for you. You walked into them, or reached for them, or just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong moment. And the one at number 1 doesn't even announce itself when it hits. You feel almost nothing at first. And then your body figures out what just happened. And that's when everything goes wrong. Number 10. The velvet ant. It's not an ant. That's the first thing. It's a wingless wasp, which means it kept the sting and lost the ability to leave quickly. So instead of flying away from problems, it just walks slowly and relies on the one thing it has, you making the mistake of touching it. It looks like something you'd pick up, bright red, fuzzy, moving slowly across the ground like it has no concerns in the world. And the moment you make contact, the sting arrives. Immediate, sharp, electric. Not the kind of pain that builds, the kind that's just suddenly there at full volume. And then you find out the other thing about the velvet ant. Its exoskeleton is so tough that predators literally struggle to crush it. So if something does manage to grab it, it survives long enough to sting whatever's holding it. That's not a defense mechanism. That's a philosophy. Number 9. The weaver fish. You're at the beach. The water looks completely normal. There's nothing around that suggests any kind of issue. So you walk in barefoot. Because why wouldn't you? And this thing is buried in the sand, with just its eyes out, completely still, waiting for pressure. Not for you specifically, just for whatever steps on it first, because its spines are designed to trigger on contact, with no aiming and no decision-making involved. You step on it, the spines go up, the venom goes in, and you jump back, which is the worst possible response, because jumping back drags the spines across your foot, and movement helps circulation, which helps the venom spread faster. So your instinct just helped it along, and now you're standing in the water trying to process the fact that the ground just attacked you. Number 8. The fire urchin. It doesn't hide. It sits right there, glowing, bright, completely obvious, covered in spines. And something that looks like that is not inviting you to touch it. That color is a message, but people still reach for it because it looks soft and interesting, and that combination short-circuits the part of the brain that's supposed to recognize warning signs. Each spine is designed to break off inside whatever touches it. That's not an accident. That's the whole point. So instead of one sting, you now have multiple venom needles embedded in your skin, all working at the same time. And every movement you make shifts those fragments around inside the tissue, which makes everything worse. You're not just stung. You're repeatedly injecting yourself every time you try to move away from the pain. Number 7. The Gila monster. It moves slow. It always moves slow. And that's not because it's weak or unaware. It moves slow because it doesn't need speed. When it bites, it doesn't inject and leave. It holds on and starts chewing. That's how the venom gets delivered. Not through a single precise strike, but through sustained contact while the animal works it in deeper. So the natural response of pulling away just causes more tearing and drives more venom into the wound at the same time. And the venom itself targets nerves and blood flow, which means the pain doesn't arrive and then fade. It builds pressure and burning that increases the longer the contact goes on. This was never designed to be a quick interaction. It was designed to stay. Number 6. The giant desert centipede. The moment you see one, your brain immediately says no. That's the correct instinct and you should follow it completely. Because this thing doesn't sting once and wait. It grabs, hooks in, and bites repeatedly, injecting venom multiple times in quick succession. Because unlike most venomous animals, it doesn't rely on a single hit to do the job. It overwhelms. And when you try to shake it off, which is the only thing your body wants to do, it reacts to that movement by holding tighter and delivering more. So the instinct that should get it off you is actively making the situation worse. The pain doesn't start at one point and stay there. It starts somewhere, and then it spreads, and it keeps going long after the animal is gone. And we're only halfway through, and the ones below this point aren't just painful. They malfunction you. Your body stops responding the way it should. So if you're still watching, subscribe to Wild Warnings, because number 1 doesn't hurt you right away. It waits. And that wait is the worst part. Number 5. The Gaboon Viper. You are going to step on this. Not because you're careless, because it genuinely doesn't look real. The camouflage is so complete that it looks exactly like dead leaves on a forest floor. You could stare directly at it and not see it, so people get comfortable walking through the areas where it lives, and at some point they get close enough that the snake reacts. It doesn't warn. It responds to proximity, not to intent. And once you're close enough, the decision is already made. Those fangs are the longest of any venomous snake, and when it strikes, it goes deep and delivers an enormous amount of venom in a single hit. That venom destroys tissue and disrupts blood simultaneously. The pain isn't just from the bite, it's from what the venom does to everything around the bite over the next several hours, and the snake is still lying there, looking like leaves. Number 4. The Arabian fat-tailed scorpion. You don't see this one because it's exactly where you don't think to check. Under rocks, inside shoes left on the ground, dark corners of rooms, anywhere that's enclosed and undisturbed. You reach in without looking, and it reacts instantly. Multiple stings back to back, because scorpions don't pause to evaluate whether the first one worked. As long as something is still moving, it keeps going. And this venom goes after the nervous system directly. Signals get overloaded. Muscles start reacting on their own. The pain spreads in ways that don't map to where the sting happened. Your body is receiving instructions it didn't send and can't override, and the scorpion is already gone. It did what it needed to do and moved on. Number 3. The bullet ant. The name exists because people needed a reference point that other people would immediately understand. Not stung. Shot. That's the description that kept coming up from enough different people in enough different situations that it became the name. One sting, and everything your brain was doing before stops. There's only the pain now. It's immediate, and it's loud, and it doesn't fade the way normal pain does. It stays at that level and builds. For hours, from something small enough that you probably wouldn't notice it on your arm until it was already too late. Tribes in the Amazon use bullet ant stings as part of initiation rituals. Young men wear gloves filled with them and have to keep the gloves on. That's not a tradition built around something mild. That's a tradition built around the most intense pain a living insect can produce. Number 2. The executioner wasp. That name is not an accident, and it's not exaggeration. When researchers and people who study venomous insects for a living encounter this wasp, the descriptions stop being clinical very quickly. One sting. That's all it takes. And what happens next is that your nervous system receives everything at once. The venom targets nerve endings directly with no filtering and no delay. Your brain doesn't process the pain in stages. It arrives at full intensity immediately, and the tissue around the sting site starts breaking down right away. You don't run. You don't think. You exist in that moment, completely occupied by what's happening to you. And the wasp is already gone. It didn't need to stay. It already did everything it came to do with a single strike. Number 1. The Irukandji jellyfish. You don't know what hit you. That's the design. It's nearly invisible in the water, about the size of a thumbnail, and the initial sting is so minor that most people ignore it. A small sensation. Almost nothing. So you keep swimming, you get out of the water. You dry off. You move on with your day. And then 15 to 40 minutes later, your body figures out what just happened. And it reacts to that information all at once. Lower back pain arrives first. Then, chest tightness. Then your heart rate climbs on its own, because the venom triggers a massive release of stress hormones, and your body floods itself trying to respond to a threat it can't locate. And then, it escalates. Full body pain that isn't on the surface. It's internal, deep, spreading through you, while your body goes into a kind of physical panic that you can't think your way out of, because it's not happening in your mind. It's happening in your chemistry. People in the grip of Irukandji syndrome have begged doctors to let them die. Not because they were giving up, because that's where the pain took them. From something you couldn't see, that you barely felt when it happened, that waited patiently for you to think everything was fine. Every single one of these animals gave you a reaction you weren't prepared for. Some of them you triggered, some of them you walked into, and one of them let you walk away first, just to make sure you were completely off guard when it started. So now you know. Which one are you never going anywhere near? Drop it in the comments. And if you want to know which animals cause pain that modern medicine still can't fully treat, that video is next. Subscribe to Wild Warnings.